Witches, it's finally time. It's time to unleash your werewolves. It's time to dance through the graveyards and wake the dead. Ooh. Drink your potions and call the corners. Tonight is the night we've all been waiting for. Yes. It's Halloween. Tonight we let the monsters run wild and welcome old ghosts to the poison tea party table. So light some candles and all join hands for the sickening seance of terror. Welcome to the show. And what a show it'll be. We've saved the best for last, so let's see what kind of murderous mayhem we can whip up tonight, shall we?
I'm sure we can figure it out.
So let's start by toasting to this beautifully twisted drink I've prepared for you all tonight, and I've made it up myself. I call this a brainy champagne in celebration of Halloween and our final spooky season episode. And we have a real reason to celebrate tonight. It's champagne with strawberry brain cubes.
Yum.
Ew.
So
sick. There's strawberry. I like strawberry.
So the idea is when it melts, your champagne gets a little strawberry flavor and color. Yes. You know, like blood.
Champagne.
Champagne.
No, you gotta say it
so
right.
It's called brainy champagne.
Yeah. I mean, that works.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
Listen, if you guys think I sound kind of weird, let me tell you why.
Let me tell you.
My sissy and I, we may have just got back from the greatest place on earth.
The best, the happiest, the...
fucking Green Bay, Wisconsin.
It was fucking legit.
We went to a Green Bay Packer game. It was our first time, and my voice has been gone for a week.
Mine too. But, you know, we'll see what happens as we drag on here.
Yeah, hopefully it gets a little...
If you can't understand us, then...
Sorry
about that.
Or if you can't tell us apart, sorry.
It'll be fine. You'll get over it.
But anyway, so if my voice sounds a little bit gone, it's just me, Janet. I just sound weird.
Hey, it's just me.
Hey, it's just me. All right. So in honor of the very best holiday of the year, I prepared a little something just for funsies.
Uh-oh.
Would you ladies say you're superstitious?
Oh,
well,
yes.
You're a little stitious?
I'm like super.
Or
I'm
super.
I'm definitely super.
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
What's the first superstition that comes to mind when I say, are you superstitious?
The first thing for me is always a black cat.
Yep, me too.
Always.
Me too.
Broken mirror.
Yep, or a ladder.
That's a good one.
Or
I'm also really weird with money in my wallet. It has to be facing the same way, and it has to be in order.
And what happens if it's not?
Because it's not. It's gonna block your money flow.
Like bad fortune, right?
Yeah.
Like bad money
It's
flow.
not
Well, then
good.
maybe that's why I'm so fucked.
That's what's going on with us.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my problem.
You guys gotta organize
Because
it.
I don't face my money. I'm like, fuck that.
No, me either. I just shove it.
Yep, it just gets crammed into a hole.
If you look in my purse, there's literally 20s and 10s and 5s and 1s all over
and they're
the
just
place.
like crammed in there. That's mine too.
And then you go in later and you'll be like, oh, fuck, I got to have $1 in here. And then you'll pull out like, $5 or $10 and you're like, oh, yeah.
I do that all the time.
Money I didn't know I had.
And also, like, putting your purse on the ground is bad luck, too.
Putting your purse on the ground is?
Yeah, because you're supposed to have it up high.
Oh, my God, that I do. I have my backpack purse. Yeah. I fucking throw that thing. Today, I threw it on the dog on
the floor.
It's on the ground.
For real. She was pissed at me, but
mine's on the floor in the corner right now.
Oh, my God. Get it off the floor. Get it off the floor.
Get it off the floor.
Get it off the floor. Okay. Sorry. I got to take a sip.
I know.
Tea break.
Tea break.
Take a little sippy sip.
So obviously Halloween evolved as an extension of the old Catholic holiday Samhain and is associated with many superstitions. It's basically what makes up the entire holiday. Halloween, it's believed, is the one night a year when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. Beginning as far back as the 14th century, it was believed that every year on this night, the dead would rise and walk the earth amongst the living. People would welcome the spirits of their dead ancestors while also leaving offerings for malevolent spirits so that they would pass by their homes and leave them undisturbed. Many superstitions evolved from this time, including seeing spirits and ways of telling one's fate. So I've put together some superstitious facts that I found interesting, and maybe there'll be something that you didn't know about before.
Ooh.
I'm hoping so.
But I don't know if they will.
I want to learn something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sit down. Let's learn something.
While I'm still sober.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with jack-o'-lanterns. I fucking hate the word jack-o'-lantern. I don't know why I hate it so much. I just say
Me too.
pumpkin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I don't even put the extra P in a pumpkin. I say pumpkin
Yeah, pumpkin.
with an N.
It's a pumpkin.
It's a pumpkin. That's what I call my pumpkin.
It's
Well,
a
that's your
pumpkin.
dog.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we'll start with jack-o'-fucking-lanterns.
Jack-o'-fucking-lantern.
The very first jack-o'-lanterns were actually turnips. Did you know that?
Yep, I did know that.
Predating traditional trick-or-treating Celts actually went door-to-door collecting food for the traditional feast of Samhain. They would carve scary faces into these turnips and place a candle inside and carry the lanterns with them to keep the evil spirits away and light their way through the night. And when Irish immigrants brought Halloween to America, pumpkins were substituted for turnips because they were more widely available and easier to carve. So that's a little...
Makes sense.
Fuck yeah, can you
History for
imagine
that is.
trying to carve a turnip?
Can you fucking even imagine? And they're so small.
They're
Yeah.
tiny.
Like, what the fuck? In the 18th century, there was an Irish folk tale that came into popularity called Stingy Jack. Are you guys ready for this shit?
Oh,
my.
God.
So the story goes, Stingy Jack was a drunken man who tricked the devil twice and was condemned to roam the world between the living and the dead forever. The devil gave him a hot coal which he placed inside a turnip to make it into a lantern that would guide his lost soul. The tradition of placing the lit jack-o'-lanterns on your front porch actually evolved from that story, and it's believed to help guide lost spirits home.
Oh.
So
Didn't know
that's why you do it, because of fucking Stingy Jack.
Fucking
Interesting.
Stingy Jack.
I know, what the
bitch.
Yeah.
fuck, and what a name.
What a name.
I
What
love
a
it.
name.
I
love
kind of
it.
like it.
I do too.
Leave it in.
Stingy Jack.
The next superstition, which I found hilarious, is if you light a candle and stand in front of a mirror combing your hair on Halloween night, you will see the face of your future husband or wife. But if you are destined to die before you're married, you'll see a skull instead.
I'm going to do it.
It's like some Bloody Mary shit.
I'm going to do it.
is.
Like, what the fuck? Okay, spiders. Did you know seeing a spider on Halloween means the spirit of a loved one is watching over you?
I've heard of that before.
No, I did not know that.
Isn't that cute?
It is cute.
And also
Except
creepy.
for you.
If a spider falls into a candlelight flame and is consumed by it, it means a witch is nearby.
Oh, well, then that's happening every day.
It's happening all the time here.
because
isn't it?
I'm totally a witch.
I know. That's
Definitely.
what I said. I'm like, well, shit. I guess all the spiders are dead here. Good.
Good.
Stepping on a spider is said to bring rain.
Oh, okay.
I can get behind that.
So it's probably rained a lot of times around me because just kidding. I don't step on spiders, do I?
No.
Maybe.
No, you yell for me while I'm in the other room.
Right.
While you're butt ass
She's
naked
always
in the
like,
shower.
Oh my God, get it. Those, to be fair to me, those are fucking wolf spiders, and that's a whole different fucking animal.
This bitch, when we were younger, all growing up,
All the time.
Janet be like, I'm going to go take a shower. I'm like, cool. And then you'd hear her fucking shriek from the fucking bathroom. And then you'd hear, Casey! And I'd come a-running because I already knew what it was.
She'd come running, feet pounding on the floor. I'm like, save my life.
And then Janet's like covering up her nips and her crotch. And she's like, get it! Kill it!
Oh my God, we're so funny.
She still does that. By the way, my
Does
whole
she cover
childhood.
herself up anymore? Because at this point, I mean,
who cares?
No.
Who cares anymore?
I've seen it all.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Now we're going to move on to black cats. Black cats are widely considered to be companions of witches that they call familiars, which we already know that.
Yes, love.
If you follow English folklore, they say if you cross the path of a black cat, it's thought you'd have bad luck. But if you tend to follow Welsh folklore, the black cat is thought to bring good luck and may also be able to predict the weather.
So we had a black cat growing up. His name was Thor. And he was an indoor-outdoor cat. And he was my fucking man.
I loved that cat, yeah.
But every, the week before and the week after Halloween, my mom wouldn't let him outside. She told us that we were not allowed to let him outside. Nobody was allowed to let him go outside because, bad shit happens to
People
black
are mean
cats.
to
Yeah,
black
people
cats.
are so mean to them.
Especially around that time of year. So here's another one that doesn't have to do with cats, though.
For funsies.
For funsies.
If you are fated to die in the next year, you will hear a sigh in the wind on Halloween night. It's believed that this was the sound of wind blowing over the feet of the dead, and only living souls close to death can hear it.
Girl, I hear that sound all the damn time.
You hear it all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's just my schizophrenia acting up.
It's her other personality.
It's my Slender Man coming to get me.
Right.
I just gotta tell him to chill
Your
out.
Slender Man. Holy shit. There are superstitions for like literally everything, even an old household tool that can sometimes be used as a weapon. It's said if you sleep with an axe under your bed, it would bring good luck and give you sweeter dreams. This originates from pioneer days in times of colonization, when having something close by to protect yourself from dangerous animals was pretty important.
So not your knife under your pillow?
No, an axe, actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
have
I
a
guess.
I'm
baseball
telling
bat.
you, don't ever try to fuck with my sister.
You said this in the fucking doll one. Like, we talked about it like 100 times.
Because
People
that
probably think
bitch-
I'm really insane.
That bitch got a knife under her pillow.
Listen, fuck around and find out.
I dare you.
I ain't trying to be attacked.
Or you could have
Ever.
Brandon come at you.
Or
Yeah.
I can wake my husband up in the middle of the night and say someone's breaking in, and you will
he-
see a whole nother
another
side
side.
of my husband.
Yep.
I promise you that. I seen it.
The best ever was when we were in Wisconsin and my sister told me this story. And it was so like I fucking lost it.
You should have been there, dude. I fucking died for years. I used to cry every time. Like, I've cried all my happy tears about this because it was so fucking funny. But the best was our daughter in the hallway that he just breezes right past.
Yep.
And she just stands there like, what the fuck? I'm like, I'm glad he didn't. Glad he didn't think
Yeah.
you were an intruder.
Right. He just
Right?
fucking barreled right past her.
Yep. Underwear, no shirt. He was going to kill somebody. They was going to be dead.
Love him.
An axe under the bed was also said to lead to male offspring. So
Okay.
if you want to have a boy, put an axe under
Put an
your bed.
axe.
That's not how that works.
That's not
No.
it. An upright axe against the house is said to keep witches away.
Good luck. I'm still coming in.
I'm still
Right?
coming in. I'm going to
We're
grab it
still
on the
coming in
way.
hot.
I'm going to grab it on the way. And it's considered bad luck to carry an axe over your shoulder through the house, which,
I
duh.
mean,
Yeah.
why do I?
Don't
okay,
do that.
Never mind.
Why do you need the axe
Why?
in the house? Although
Why?
I just said I was going to grab it and bring it in. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my god.
I do that all the time now because of your things.
I know. I'm sorry, and I try not to do it on every fucking podcast.
Is that from like Key and Peele?
It's
or where
like,
is it
it's
from?
a fucking meme that
It's like a vine
yeah
from like 100 years ago.
My God,
So
it's
old.
so
And so
funny.
when they say it's like a fucking, you're watching a video and then they're like, they do something fucked up like fall, wipe out or something, and then
Then
somebody
they'll
goes,
play the
"Oh
video.
my God."
Yeah. It's so funny.
And I can't help
it's
it.
so funny.
But I say it all the time.
I didn't even know where it was from, and in my head, I imagine if anybody out there knows Key and Peele, they're like,
I love it.
It's the
Oh,
funniest
yeah.
fucking show ever.
Yep.
And all I can imagine is them singing
Yep.
it to each other.
And that's-
oh my God.
And that's fair.
It
But
makes sense.
it goes way farther back than that.
It's way cooler and older than that, even.
Right?
Oh my God. So, speaking of axes, have we got a bloody tale for you tonight? I first came across this story when I was in college, and I read about it in my school newspaper, and I could not fucking believe I had never heard of it before. Being from an entirely different state, I wasn't aware of Iowa's most gruesome unsolved mystery murder. As I read through the story, I became more and more intrigued to find out the disturbing truth behind the crime, the veil of mystery surrounding the killer, and the unsettling aftermath that still to this day, haunts the tiny town where it happened. Tonight, we're going to terrify you with a story so shocking you won't believe your ears. Settle in and top off your poisons. This is the very real, very true story of Villisca, Iowa axe murders.
Yes,
Ooh,
bitch.
yes.
Love it.
Good one.
Here
You're
for
gonna
it.
be scared.
This is a highly requested one.
Yeah.
Also.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
so
it is.
here you go, bitches. This is for you. In 1912, Villisca was a nice, quiet farming community located in the southeast corner of Montgomery County, which is located in the southwest corner of the state of Iowa. The population was around 2,500 at the time. By all accounts from the time, Villisca was a friendly, close-knit community, home to at least 5 different churches of different denominations, many thriving manufacturing plants, booming small-town storefronts, a brand new Carnegie Library, freshly paved roads and walkways, newly constructed school buildings, and it was the home to a main railway stop of the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. Villisca had everything a Midwest family could want in a place to settle and prosper. It was a dreamy, up-and-coming community on the rise. Josiah B. Moore, also referred to sometimes as JB or Joe, was a well-known, respected businessman who ran his own hardware store in Villisca. Josiah was the kind of man who excelled at everything he set out to do, and as a result, he earned reasonable wealth in his 30s. Then he would later go on to marry his wife, Sarah Moore, and the couple would have 4 children. When Sarah wasn't tending to their children, she was extremely active in the Presbyterian Church. The family was thought of as generous, kind, neighborly, and devout. They were well liked by others in the town and were so active in the community that members of the family were easily recognized on the street by most at a glance.
They're famous.
Yeah.
They're famous.
Everybody knew them.
Everybody knew everybody.
They were like,
yeah.
And so
I
she
was born in a small town.
That's right. That's
Exactly.
right.
I love
That's
it.
right. June 9th, 1912 was set to be another summer day in the town of Villisca. That day, 10-year-old Catherine Moore would beg her mother to let her have her neighbor friends Ina May and Lena Stillinger over for a sleepover. Sarah agreed. As evening approached, the entire Moore family, 43-year-old Josiah Moore, 39-year-old Sarah Moore, 11-year-old Herman, 10-year-old, yes, that's right, Herman,
Love him.
10-year-old Mary Catherine, 7-year-old Arthur, and 5-year-old Paul, and the children's 2 friends, 8-year-old Ina May and 12-year-old Lena Stillinger, all made their way to the Presbyterian Church for an event called the Child's Day Celebration. This was an event coordinated by Sarah herself to celebrate and mark the end of the school year. So it's like a big deal. Games, I think there was a play.
I was like, it wasn't like a lock-in, was it?
No, it was like, but it runs till pretty late. By all accounts, the event was full of laughter and fun. Everyone enjoyed themselves, and the program ended at about 9:30 p.m.,
Okay.
which I thought is that late for a church event?
I think so.
Especially in 1912?
I mean, I think so, but I'm not.
Which leads me to believe that this was like a big deal, that they were willing to like stay out late.
I mean, it was probably like a whole town, like a June days for us.
Yeah,
Like
the town celebration or whatever. Like it was a huge deal. Around 9:30, Josiah and Sarah gathered the children and said their goodbyes, and the group walked home together 3 blocks to the Moore's home. So the church is, 3 blocks over here. That's like nothing. Hop, skip, and a jump. It's straight there. When they got to the house, they enjoyed milk and cookies as an evening snack, and then they all went to bed. The 2 guests, Ina and Lena, stayed in the guest bedroom on the first floor, while the Moores' 4 children were put to bed in one of the second-story bedrooms, and Josiah and Sarah slept in the other room upstairs, the master bedroom. Does that make sense?
Weird. Yeah, it makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's weird.
But it's still weird because how are you going to have a sleepover and not like...
Have a sleepover.
I thought that was weird too. Like, why didn't she let
What year? I can't remember what year this all
1912.
happened. Okay, but
And they're
still.
religious, but they're girls.
Right.
Exactly.
Why didn't the little girl, the daughter, get to sleep in the room with the friends?
Right.
Unless that mom was like, listen, we're not fucking around. Everyone's going to bed because we're getting up early. And that makes sense possibly because this was a Saturday night.
So they would have had church on
They would have
Sunday.
had church the next morning.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense, but still.
Also, if maybe they didn't clean up everything and she wanted to get to the church early in the morning to clean up from the night before, I don't know.
Could have been.
Because
I
it
just
seems
think
like
it's
they
weird.
just left.
But 1912, I mean, okay, that tracks. I didn't realize it was that long
It was
ago.
112 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was
doesn't
that
seem
long
like
ago.
It doesn't seem like that at all.
Yeah.
So the night was quiet and unsuspecting. It was a night like any other. At 7 a.m. the next morning on June 10th, so this would have been Sunday morning, the Moores household sat quiet. Slightly unusual, as theirs was usually a busy household in the morning.
Yeah, because they had a billion fucking kids.
Yeah.
Right?
There's 4 kids.
Yep.
Like,
And
And
now
they
2
had
others.
2 sleeping over, yeah.
it would have been crazy.
That would be a little sus.
Yeah. So by this time, the 4 kids were often buzzing about while Sarah would be out tending to the chickens. They had animals, so she would have been doing chores by this time.
Right.
But on this particular day, there was not a peep and the house appeared dark.
Dumb question. There was electricity, right?
No.
No, okay.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Mary Peckham, the next door neighbor to the Moores, thought it was odd, but she knew that they had a late night the night before.
Right. With all the kids and...
Right. So she told herself that they should be waking up any minute. So she just continued to do her own chores and just kind of kept an eye on the house to see when they would wake up. Everybody's very neighborly back in these days and friendly and
Up in your business.
Nosy.
maybe helpful. Like, do you need help doing your chores? My chores are done. You know, that kind of thing. So Mary finished her own daily yard work. But when there was still no sign of anyone at the usually boisterous Moore residence, she went over and knocked on the door. And there was no answer. So she knocked again. Still no answer. Then she tried the door handle and it was locked. And this...
If you know, then
It's-
you know.
Yeah. People still don't lock their doors in small towns. Like, you don't do that. So she thought that was extremely something's up.
I would too, yeah.
She tried to look through the windows, but she couldn't get a clear view in. There was like something covering the window. I'll post pictures of this house. There's a number of windows on the lower floor that she tried to look in, and you can see the porch view, and there's a window on the porch, and she couldn't see into it. So Mary called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore, and asked him to investigate. While Mary waited on the porch, Ross used his key to enter the home. He came to the closed door of the guest bedroom on the first floor, and he opened the door. Ross Moore quickly ran out of the house in a panic, and he yelled for Mary to call for the sheriff immediately. "They're dead," he screamed. "They're all dead." Can you fucking imagine?
All those little kids.
I can't even fucking imagine it.
What it would look like. And like,
Yeah.
just to be going over there to just be like, oh, okay, I'll go in
Yeah.
and look because you're being whatever.
There's also reports that Mary Peckham had thought that the family may have been sick. So after she finds out that the door is locked, she's like, and they need us to come in there and they need help or whatever. And then to find them all dead, shocking.
Yes.
So Villisca's peace officer, because they don't have a whole
No.
police, Hank Horton, arrived shortly with doctors in tow. Horton's search of the house determined the entire Moore family, including the 2 Stillinger girls, that's a total of 8 people, had all been bludgeoned to death in their beds. The murder weapon, an axe owned by Josiah, was found in the guest bedroom on the first floor where the 2 Stillinger sisters were found. So Hank Horton had brought a crew of officials with him to assess the murder. Dr. J. Clark Cooper, Dr. Edgar Huff, and Dr. F.S. Williams, who would be the first to examine the bodies and determine the time of death, were among the first on the scene. Also on the property at the start was Wesley Ewing, the minister of the Moores Presbyterian congregation, followed by the county coroner, L.A. Lindquist. When Dr. Williams finally emerged from the home, he told the growing crowd outside, "Don't go in there, boys. You'll regret it until the last day of your life." But they ignored the doctor's advice, and as many as 100 onlookers, neighbors, and townspeople filed in through the threshold of the Moore
Well, what
home.
the fuck? I didn't know that part.
Oh, yeah. That's
Fucking
what
idiots.
pisses this.
Ruin all the
Yeah,
evidence.
exactly
Ruin it
what
all.
happened. That's exactly what
That
happened.
pisses me off so much about this case because probably they could have maybe figured it out.
They could have, like,
If-
blocked it off somehow,
Yeah.
and you should have known immediately. But I guess maybe not, because this is 1912. How many murders do you think Hank Horton has fucking dealt with?
Fair. I mean, yeah.
But still, like, common sense.
You don't think that's ever going to happen in
It
your
wasn't
town.
common sense though back then, Kaylee. It's not like they were like, you know,
I don't
especially
know.
these
I
small
just can't
town-
wrap my head
and he
around it.
wasn't
It
a
pisses me
police
off.
officer. He was just a peace officer.
Yeah.
So he didn't have the proper training or anything of that sort. And he was probably just like, because there were so many people outside, he's like, oh, well, I wouldn't go in there.
No, you
Yeah.
tell those fuckers you don't go in there. Get the fuck back.
But
bitch.
who is he?
You want to get fucking fucked up?
Well,
Oh.
I mean, but who is he? You know, he's a peace officer. And besides that, like in this time,
And what
you know,
fucking
there's
sickos? Like,
there's a growing crowd outside.
Oh,
though.
I've got some. if you
They're
think
gonna
s-
fucking stampede in there. They're gonna be like, we want to know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
You know,
But
they're all
you're-
up in the business.
they're so sick. Like,
I mean, I agree. I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah.
However, it was just a different time then.
So as many as 100 people are in there. They're contaminating the crime scene and destroying any hope of preserving evidence that would help to solve the horrific crime. They left their own fingerprints
Yep.
all over the house. They shuffled through the family's belongings, and one person even took, this is really kind of gruesome, a fragment of Josiah Moore's skull that had been completely crushed in the attack as a sort of macabre souvenir.
okay, take him in for questioning.
Who the fuck does that?
That's odd.
Who goes, oh, let me just take a little piece of that and shove it in my pocket for later?
Some fucking weirdos.
Sick.
It's not fucking normal. I don't know how, even though it was a different time, how somebody would be like, that's
Not
normal.
I agree with that. That's not normal.
Like,
I mean, okay,
that's
let me play
fucking-
devil's advocate because you're talking about the early 1900s. Like we're still doing a lot of things. Like we're not necessarily hunter gatherers anymore, but like life on the farm is very gruesome. It's not like a
Yeah.
You know, like we are so comfy today. Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
killing their own fucking chickens. They see blood and gore all the fucking time. So is it disgusting? Absolutely, I fucking agree with you. However, some of these people probably see some nasty fucking shit on the daily, so they're like, hey,
Well, I know that they deal with death daily
right,
in that time more, or maybe not daily, but more often than we
way
do
more
now.
frequently.
But
But for
this
them
type
to,
of death,
yeah.
Yeah.
And for them to be able to say that this happened and like okay, they have the evidence that somebody took that. Why? That's suspicious.
I agree with that as well. And I'm not, there's no trail on if this person was ever questioned or what. I'm sure that they were, since they know about it. So I don't know. This is a very old case, so there's a lot of information that's not
right.
And they didn't even bother to record some of it that they would have done today.
Right.
You know, like some of it they were like, that's nothing, but it would have helped us today. We could have maybe solved this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
There were no Sherlock Holmes.
that's right. There was none of that. Doctors determined the murders probably happened between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. 2 cigarette butts were discovered in the attic, as if the killer or killers had possibly entered the home while the Moores were gone at the church celebration and waited for them to go to sleep. It was determined that Josiah Moore was killed first. He also received the most blows from the blunt side of the axe. His face had been bludgeoned so severely that his eyes were missing.
That's fucked up.
Fucked up. And somebody was like, oh, let me just take a piece of that. Fucked up.
What's so psycho about that is, like, Josiah and his wife slept together in the same bed, right? Mm-hmm. I wonder, she probably woke up.
That's what I wonder too. Like, or
and maybe she
if she was a harder sleeper or groggy from waking up, she didn't have time to react.
Loud, though. I mean,
yeah, I would jump right the fuck up.
To bash somebody's skull in, basically.
And that, to that.
It's gotta be loud.
You don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Like, maybe something fell off the wall or something, you know, like,
right.
But
especially me, like me sleeping, I'm like,
yeah, like, what's going on?
What is that? I don't open my eyes. I don't, whatever. The dogs are freaking the fuck out.
I would have jumped up.
Yeah.
Immediately.
And I'm like a
heavier sleeper.
Yeah.
And
I'm a deep sleeper too, but I feel like
no, if I hear anything,
the bed would have been moving from the.
They have 4 kids. Though, too. I mean, you know, maybe they're all up in the business all the time and she's like, whatever. I mean, I don't fucking know. I'm just trying to think of things. Don't look at me like that, Kaylee. I will come across this fucking table and I will fuck your shit up.
Well, that makes it even worse for the kids, too, because they shared rooms.
So
I know.
I wish I could explain the layout of this house to everybody. I mean, I can
look
try.
it up.
I can attempt to. So when you walk in the house downstairs, you're immediately walked into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty nice sized kitchen. It's very open. And then off to your right is technically what someone would call a living room.
Right.
And then off the living room is that downstairs bedroom. It's right. It's actually, when you walk through the doorway, it's to the right immediately. It's right there. It's all very tightly snugged together. So back up, when you walk in through the kitchen door and then you're in the kitchen, immediately to your right are the stairs
to go up.
Yeah, these stairs look a lot like the farm stairs out at our family farm.
Nice.
They're very creepy, very tight together, very
like steep.
Yeah, steep, and they're just the same shape. So you walk up a little bit and then it curves. They're exactly like that.
Ew.
Yeah. So you walk up these stairs and it does a little bit of a curve. And immediately right there's no banister from what I remember. Maybe there is. Anyway, disregard that. I don't know if there is or not. But you walk right up the stairs. Immediately is that master bedroom. And when I say master bedroom, it is as big as this room that we're in right now, ladies. It is very small.
The shit was all, houses were built differently then.
Yeah. I was shocked to see how small this house was. And then you're going to walk to your left and there's a closet on the right, and then there's another door on the left. The left side door leads to what they call the attic. Mm-hmm. The attic's not above, on like some third level or something like you would think an attic would be. It is immediately
just like another room
to the left there. So then, and that is a sizable room. It's bigger than the master bedroom, quote unquote. And then, so when you walk through, you're walking through the master. You've got the closet door on the right, the attic door on the left, and straight ahead of you is that second bedroom. There's no other, that's it.
Yeah.
And that bedroom is a little bigger than the master bedroom. And it does have some cute windows. It was very bright in that room. So that's it. This is the house.
A tiny house.
Yeah. It's very small.
And back then also, like, they didn't have anything for... Like, now think of it when you're sleeping. Like, there's noises going on in your house. We have TVs. We
Right.
have like other like back then it was just like silence in your
Yeah,
house. So I
exactly.
feel like if something like that was going on, people are gonna hear it.
Right.
Well, I mean, and not just in your house, but like in
Next
the next
door.
house over.
Even if
Yeah.
like she would have screamed once or something.
Unless they weren't given the opportunity to scream.
yeah.
My whole thing would be like, okay, so I'm going to listen, if I was going to do this, all right, I would bash you in the head first, and then I would immediately bash her in the head. That doesn't mean she's dead.
Yeah.
So I would, finish you two off, and then I go to the next room and I'd bash each of them before they had a fucking opportunity to fucking
So that they're at least
unconscious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Messed up anyway.
That's the only thing I can think of that would.
And that sounds to be what this
Probably
what this
what
killer did or
happened.
Right.
killers. So the ceiling in the Moore's bedroom was gouged with the axe mark from where the killer lifted the axe to strike Josiah. And a scary fact, I've actually seen these marks in real life. I believe there's 2 of them. And when I visited the house a couple years ago, and they're still in the ceiling in the bedroom above the bed.
I was going to be like, Janet, how do you know the layout so well?
Right?
How do you know?
I've been there. So Sarah was killed next. She was determined to be killed next, and she was the only victim that received blows from the sharp side of the weapon.
Interesting.
So, which leads me to believe that she started stirring around, and he had
Yeah.
to quick.
That's what I
Or-
think.
Or she was fucking somebody, and it was a crime of passion with her more than it was
And
anybody
that's a
else.
real possibility too. Like, who knows? Nobody fucking has any idea.
Right.
There's like a million theories about this.
So next, the Moore children were all bludgeoned to death in the next room. And after the killer finished with the children, they returned to the bedside of Josiah, where they continued to strike his head with the blunt side of the axe. During the commotion, a shoe had fallen right side up just under the side of the bed where Josiah was hanging off. And the scene was so horrendous that Josiah's blood dripped and pooled and completely filled that shoe with blood to the top.
Oh my God.
That's
Sick.
fucked up.
So bad.
Sick.
Just a little gruesome stuff for you to know. Sorry. I'm like, I don't know why everyone needs to know that, but
No, it's
You're welcome.
It's
Hey.
interesting.
after the killer attacked Josiah a second time, they made their way downstairs to the guest bedroom where the 2 still injured sisters slept. Ina was murdered in the exact same way as the others in her sleep, but it's believed that 12-year-old Lena Stillinger was probably the last victim and was the only one awake to see the killer's face. So Lena's position led investigators to believe that she had attempted to fight off the killer. She was found laying crosswise on the bed with defensive wounds on her arm. More disturbing, Lena's nightgown was found pulled up to her waist, and she was wearing no underwear. This led the police to investigate a possible sexual motive for the murders. But it was later determined that Lena was not sexually assaulted, and police dismissed that theory, although I'm not sure how they came to that
Yeah, that's
conclusion.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure, didn't they find DNA, a different DNA in her underwear?
No, not in this case.
Not in this one. You're
There's no
thinking of a
DNA
different
yet.
one.
It's 1912, but I know what you're probably thinking of, John Bonet.
Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. But no, I thought there was something
No,
to
this
do
is
with
this is
one.
way before that.
There's no DNA. There's barely fingerprints. Like there
So
are.
there
but-
probably was, but
there could have
yeah,
been.
there could have been. That's why when I was saying earlier, they didn't treat this case like they would treat it today.
yeah.
They could have saved some of that evidence and we
Right.
could have tested it
Tested
today.
it today.
But they had no idea that this
What
was going to
they
be
were doing.
possible someday.
Right.
Like they would think we were magicians.
We're witches, burn us at the stake.
Basically,
Right?
for real. So it's thought the killer returned upstairs and continued to beat the Moores until they were unrecognizable. Josiah was hit with the blunt side of the axe an estimated 30 times or more. So if you think about what it takes to wield an axe, and so he
You
does.
gotta be a strong, like
For
very adrenaline rush. Something that's a
It's
lot
a
of work.
hate. This is a lot of anger.
Anger.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
I'm telling you,
Pissed
she
offness.
was cheating.
And it could be that. I have no idea. I have a lot of theories, and that's one of them. I mean, this has to be somebody that's really, really pissed off. But to kill the kids,
Right.
Is
do you do that? If you're having an affair, you kill the children too? I don't think you even care about them.
I mean, it depends on the situation. I would think. And plus, People are fucked up, man.
I mean, for
Yeah.
real, but I don't know. I just, so
or Josiah did somebody fucking dirty and some business wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
could have been.
And then,
And that's also, a
whatever.
theory. Well, so the power that it takes to wield an axe, not only 30 times, but more. And then to do it in a place that's virtually darkness, it's black.
Yeah.
Right, you can't see
Does this have to
shit.
be an environment that you're familiar with?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think
Or
so.
is it,
Yeah.
do you have a tiny light? I mean, and
Do you have a tiny light?
you have a tiny lamp with you? And then
Or if it's somebody who was like stalking them
also a theory. Yes.
because he could be
Watching
breaking in a
them?
lot before this.
How
they didn't
fucking
lock
creepy.
their doors.
Yeah, nobody did.
And that's a thing. It's called frogging.
yeah.
When people live in your house and you don't know,
Yeah, that shit's creepy.
Better not be going down in this motherfucker.
right?
Don't worry, nobody's here.
Nobody
Just like
wants
nobody
to stay
wants
in
to
my
live
house.
in my house either.
Nobody wants to live in my house.
They'd be
Not
like,
even
"Damn,
me.
That bitch yells all the time.
She's stressing me
They'd
out.
be like, all they do is watch TV.
Right.
And she whines at him to go
and
get a
her
fountain pop.
dogs don't ever shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah, there's that too. There's that. Aside from the severity of the murders and the sheer number of victims, there's even more to this case that makes it so mind-boggling. The strange way the crime scene was left. So this is psycho. There's significant evidence that the killer hung out at the house for a while after they committed the murders. What they were doing there is still a mystery all these years later. After the murderer had finished on their killing spree, they covered the faces of all the victims with cloths. Mostly bedclothes, but I think there was a
But
a
that
bed sheet.
indicates that they knew them.
That indicates sympathy for
Yes.
the
Yeah.
victim.
Yes.
Yeah, that they knew them. They went through the house covering every mirror and glass surface with towels, blankets, or clothes that they found nearby. A 4-pound slab of bacon was found to have been taken from the Moore's icebox, wrapped in a towel, and placed on the floor next to the murder weapon in the guest bedroom where the Stillinger girls laid lifeless.
Mm-hmm.
Next to that was a short piece of keychain that didn't belong to the Moores. It didn't belong in the house. Nobody knew whose that was. And I don't know how they can say that either, because, I mean, everyone that lives there is dead.
Yeah.
Right.
How can somebody be like, no, that's not theirs?
Well,
Bitch, you don't
there's
know.
also 2 children there that don't belong either.
Right,
So,
right. The police also found a bowl of bloody water and more untouched food on the kitchen table. At the top of the stairs, the killer left the lamp. This might be important. So the killer left the lamp that they had used to light their way through the home and then disappeared into the dark hours of the early morning, locking the door behind them and taking the keys. It's just like, what the fuck happened here?
Right.
What's happening? This person is clearly out of their mind, or they have a reason for all of this, and I can't put together what it is. Police believe the killer left the home around 5 a.m., a mere 2 hours before their neighbor Mary Peckham began to have her suspicions about the Moore family's well-being.
And that's the other thing. Like, this killer would have had to have known when the neighbors around,
I feel
are
like
going
maybe
to
they
wake
wanted
up.
to get caught. They left shit behind. They
Yeah.
left their lamp. Like, do all the lamps look the same?
I mean, I don't know if it was a lamp from the home. I guess I don't know that. I know the weapon is Josiah's axe, so it's not his weapon. But the only thing that they mentioned in my research that didn't belong in the house was that piece of keychain.
Oh, okay.
And they specifically said this was not theirs. How they determined that, like I said, with everybody being dead,
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did the killer sneak away and catch a train off to the next city and possibly to the next murder? Or did they simply slip back into their home among the community, fooling everyone and carrying on as though nothing had ever happened? Who would have committed such a heinous crime? And what could have drove someone to murder 6 children and 2 loving parents in their sleep? The authorities tried to use the assistance of bloodhounds to follow the scent of the killer from the house with no success. No suspects were immediately identified and police were dumbfounded. But by sundown, people began to gossip in the very tiny town of Villisca, and wouldn't you know it, where it seems there was not a man alive that would want to harm the Moore family, many names and theories would surface overnight.
Well,
How
yeah.
funny.
Super fun, little tiny towns and their little gossip chain.
Yeah. And what's super funny about this is, like, probably he came back when all of those people
Well, yeah,
were there.
that's the,
They always
the
come
killer
back.
always revisits the scene of the crime, right?
Yeah, they want to be proud of what they did, which is disgusting. We're going to go over some suspects that they found out about through the gossip chain and their investigations. The first one is Andrew Sawyer. Police combed the countryside in search of any transients or displaced people that they could question in accordance with the Moore murders. One of those people was Andrew Sawyer. Sawyer was a traveling stranger who was obsessed with the murders, and he was also rumored to sleep with an axe.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
After an interrogation, it was found that Sawyer was actually in Osceola the night of the murders, where he was stopped by a marshal who saw him, and he was told to leave the town or he was going to be arrested. He was actually with another friend, another homeless guy. So there was two of them together. Sawyer hopped a freight train that night to Creston, Iowa, and that train arrived there in Creston between 3 and 4 a.m., making it impossible for him to have committed the crime. And the marshal was witness to this. He saw that.
Oh, okay.
So, but sounds pretty good, right?
Yeah.
When you hear that right away, you're like, and
all of these suspects are just going to make us be like, wow.
All of these suspects could have done it. I'm telling you, like, not that guy because he wasn't
Not
there.
that guy.
Not that guy.
But maybe.
He
He
sounds
has
good
an
for
alibi.
it. I was like, oh, that was the guy for sure. And then
Yeah.
I went on to the next guy. I'm like, oh, no, that's the guy for sure.
No, it's not him.
No, and the next, oh, no. Anyway. So the next suspect we have is Frank Jones. Frank was a tough local businessman and a state senator with two very compelling reasons for wanting Josiah Moore dead. First, it's believed that Frank had deep hatred for Josiah because of a previous employment gone bad. Years prior, Josiah had worked for Frank for 7 years, and during those years, he had acquired the lucrative John Deere account for Frank's company.
Damn.
Oh, very, very lots
That's
of money.
very lucrative.
Cha-ching.
That's who did it. Yep.
So when Josiah grew increasingly tired of the 6-day work weeks, working from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Frank's refusal to budge on that, Josiah left Frank's company and started his own, and he took the John Deere account with him.
Fuck yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Frank was pissed.
I'm sure he was.
He was fucking mad.
And that's a big ass fucking.
I mean, that's a big deal. That's basically your whole company, probably.
Yeah, for real.
So at the same time, Frank was convinced that Josiah Moore was having an affair, with his beautiful daughter-in-law, Donna Jones, a local beauty whose affairs were well known throughout the town. There was no evidence to support the claim, though, of the affair, but the hatred was already sparked between the two families and ran so deep that the men would cross the street to avoid running into one another.
Okay.
I don't like you. I'm gonna cross.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Not me. I'd be like, "What's up, bitch?"
I'll shoulder check.
I know. I feel like if you really hate someone so much, though, and you want to kill them, crossing the street is kind of like...
I don't know.
Or not.
I don't know. It makes a big thing of it.
Yeah.
And like it's a show or whatever. But was it intense enough to spark the conversation of the murder of Josiah's entire family? Some weren't sure, but it was a theory.
Yeah.
I think it's a
possibility.
I
mean, John Deere.
People have been murdered for less.
And John Deere is a huge...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was then.
I'm sure it was.
But now,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge thing to lose.
I think it was probably even more so back then. Farming was way more important then and like more of a big
I don't
thing.
know when John Deere, like, you know, I don't know what year
They were established. I don't know
Yeah.
that either. We should look that up. But I don't
So
know.
I don't know how big they were at that time. Now they're huge.
They're
like
giant,
John Deere
yeah.
is the
Actually,
fucking.
they're probably starting to dwindle just a little bit.
Maybe.
But yeah, because farming is kind of... I mean, we need farming. I don't know why it's going away, but anyway.
Who's gonna grow my food?
I'm going to grow my own food. Not in my garden. It's fucking full of weeds.
Full of weeds.
Somebody gonna have to come and teach me some things. I'm not a green witch. William Mansfield is the next suspect on the list. And while there was no evidence ever discovered to prove Frank Jones, the guy that we previously talked about, was involved in the Moore family murders, there was a theory involving a murder for hire scheme in a man named William Mansfield, or as some know him, Insane Blackie.
Oh,
Yep,
that's okay.
He's a white guy.
Okay, all right. I was like, Janet, is this appropriate?
He's a white guy.
Okay, he's a white guy.
Listen, I didn't come up with the nickname.
You know what? Fuck that guy.
That's fucked up. It's weird.
Fuck him.
Yep.
So Mansfield was an ex-convict and a former U.S. Army soldier. 9 months before the Moore family was murdered, there was another similar axe murder that occurred in Colorado Springs, Colorado. In that case, 4 people were brutalized with an axe, and the killer had covered the windows with blankets and bed sheets. Also, I know,
All right.
right?
Okay.
So similar. Also, in similar fashion to the Villisca case, the killer in Colorado Springs also covered the victims' heads with cloths.
Okay.
Side note, why is there axe killers everywhere that we go?
So
Yeah.
at the time of the
We
Villisca...
used to live in Colorado.
I know, but, well, there's no axe murders now.
No, not now, but it's just weird.
At the time that this happened, there was a rash of axe murders. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Every time we leave somewhere, there's like the drinking capital of the United States.
It just follows us.
And now there's axe murders everywhere we go.
What the fuck?
Yep.
It wasn't us.
Maybe we should stop putting our purses on the floor.
We probably
Exactly.
should stop doing that.
Get that money flow.
Fuck off, I drank my $10 beer.
Yep.
Oh my God.
I brought it all the way from
I drink
Wisconsin.
a lot of $10 beers.
Right?
Go, Wisconsin, go. Okay, so 2 more similar axe murders followed in the state of Kansas, and in these cases, mirrors were also covered just the same as in the Moore home. A burning lamp, this is important, was also placed at the end of the victim's bed, and a wash basin full of bloody water was discovered in the kitchen. Mansfield became the prime suspect of those murders because he was in the area. His job required him to travel. He was in the Colorado Springs area when that occurred, and he was also in the Kansas area when those two occurred.
That's definitely too big of a
Right.
They're all
coincidence
similar.
to ignore.
And
I
it's-
don't know how back in the days like this that people put those together, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of blowing my mind, but good for them that they did that.
Yeah.
So he's become the prime suspect in those 3 different cases. The investigating detectives believed that they could prove Mansfield was in the area for all the murders in question and suggested that he was a cocaine-addicted serial killer. Which, of course,
They had cocaine then?
they had cocaine.
Cocaine.
Love them.
Detectives were able to convince a grand jury to open an investigation in 1916, but payroll records would provide Mansfield with an alibi showing that he was in Illinois at the time of the Villisca murders.
What the fuck?
However, a restaurant owner in Shenandoah, Iowa, identified Mansfield as the man he saw the morning after the Villisca murders boarding a train to Clarinda.
Yep. Yep, that was a whole...
This man said he had walked from Villisca. If proven to be true, this testimony would prove Mansfield's alibi was a lie.
Yep.
Because if it's... I mean, in this time, it's so easy to be like...
Yeah, that wasn't me.
I'm a completely different person than
Yeah.
what you think I am.
That wasn't me.
Exactly.
Mansfield was never charged in any connection, though, with the Villisca murders. So
not.
they just didn't have enough to make it stick.
Nope.
Unfortunately. But don't worry, because we got an even better suspect, and his name is Reverend George Kelly.
Of course, he's a fucking reverend. Sorry.
Sorry.
Not sorry.
Not sorry.
Yep.
George Kelly was an English immigrant, a preacher, and a known sexual deviant.
What a fucking loser. Oh, I'm so shocked.
I'm
I'm
really
sorry.
sorry
I'm sorry.
by that.
We're
I'm getting a
really-
little fucking carried away already, and I haven't even fucking heard anything.
Yep.
Let me get a beer. Tea break.
Tea break.
Tea break.
George Kelly was an English immigrant, a preacher, and a known sexual deviant. He was described as extremely odd and peculiar and had at least one mental breakdown in his life, which haven't we all?
Yeah, right? Like, okay,
I don't
sorry,
feel bad about
George
that.
Kelly.
Join the fucking club.
Yeah, I don't think
me
he's a
every
murderer because of
fucking
that.
day.
I wish I had a horse and buggy to take me to fucking...
Right?
I was going to say to school, but to work. So I didn't have to drive myself.
Like, go fuck yourself with your 2 first names.
He was also accused of being a peeping Tom, and on several occasions, he had asked young girls and women to pose nude for him.
Are we surprised?
I mean, kind of, because I would have thought he would have gone for
Boys?
some little boys.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought immediately, too.
Well, he might have, but they might not have come forward about it.
Yeah, true.
It's a different time.
Kelly was in the town of Villisca the day before the murders, teaching at the same Children's Day celebration at the Presbyterian
Oh,
church
it was him.
Yep.
that the Moores had attended the night before they were killed.
Fuck that guy.
He was there watching
It
them
was him.
perform in their little plays and watching them play games and watching them be a family.
He did it.
Remember, the service had been organized by Sarah Moore, and her children, together with Lena and Ina Stillinger, had played prominent parts in these plays and dressed up in their Sunday best. Many in Villisca believed Kelly had seen the family at the church and became obsessed with them, and had spied on the Moores as they went to bed that evening.
What a fucking creeper.
For real. I'm like disturbed.
Sorry.
I need that on a t-shirt. Oh my god. That is so awesome.
Oh my god. There was also the disturbing fact that Lena Stillinger had been found wearing no underwear, with her night dress drawn up past her waist. This suggested a sexual motive, but the doctors found no evidence of an assault, as we had said before, but I think that's bullshit, but I don't know.
Yep. I agree.
I know that was a
Bullshit.
lot, but
But if he was a reverend, he could have just fucking jacked it, like took her shit off and fucking stared at her and fucking did his business by himself.
These people.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Suspiciously, though, Reverend Kelly left town the next morning between 5 and 5:30 a.m. on June 10th, 1912, just hours before the Moore family was discovered.
He did it.
Yep.
Who does that?
That's a little...
Him, because he did it.
I don't know. I think that's...
Did he? Did he do it?
Did he do it?
Did it.
He did.
He did it.
He did.
In the weeks that followed the murders, Reverend Kelly became obsessed with the case and wrote many letters to the police and family of the deceased. This aroused suspicion, and investigators wrote back to Reverend Kelly asking the minister for any information he might have about the murders. And Kelly couldn't help himself. He replied with great detail, claiming to have heard sounds and possibly witnessed the murders.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's him returning to the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
For real.
Exactly.
His known mental illness, though, made authorities question whether he knew the details because of having committed the murders or if he was imagining his account. In 1914, 2 years after the murders, Kelly was arrested for sending obscene materials through the mail. He was sexually harassing a woman who applied for a job as his secretary.
Wow.
He was sent to a mental hospital, though, and investigators speculated again that Kelly could maybe be the murderer of the Moore family.
Which mental hospital?
I know.
Do I know him?
Right?
Have I seen him?
You've probably seen him before. In 1917, Kelly was arrested for the Villisca murders. Police obtained a confession from him. He did confess. However, it followed many hours of interrogation, and Kelly later recanted his confession. And after 2 separate trials, he was acquitted.
Nope. Can't do it. Nope.
Why did they always be... They let Lizzie
Yeah.
Borden off, too, and you know that bitch did that shit.
Yeah, for real.
She burnt her dress.
Love her.
I mean, we're going to talk about it later, but...
For real.
And this motherfucker did it, too. And they were
He
like,
did.
you know what? Nah.
They're like, you know what? You just need help.
You know, if you're not going to molest her, all the people, who is?
I know.
Right?
What the fuck?
Just let him go.
Just let him go.
He's fine.
So, since he was acquitted, there was another suspect. Actually, there's a couple more, but here's the next one.
Next one.
Henry Lee Moore. Henry Lee Moore, no relation to the Moore family at all, was a suspected serial killer who was convicted of the murder of his mother and grandmother several months after the murders in Villisca. The weapon he used in the crime? An axe.
Dun,
Okay.
dun.
I mean, I'm not convinced, but
Okay, so he
Let's
used an
continue.
axe.
it was after.
It was
right?
a prominent tool in those days.
Yeah.
Everyone had an axe.
And he was obviously, could have been influenced by the fact that somebody else.
Right. And he's killing his family members, so that's a little more intimate than
Right.
than this stranger crime. After all, the cases showed striking similarities, leading to strong suspicion that some or all of the crimes were committed by the very same axe-murdering serial killer. Joseph Stillinger, so that's the father of the killed Lena and Ina, claimed that Moore very much resembled the man who once worked for him. So
Okay.
let me talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
That man, who had given his name as Hellam,
Okay.
What a name.
was hired in April of 1912, so the murders occurred in June.
Okay.
Stillinger, their father, he hired this man in April of 1912, and he worked for him as a farm hand for only a week, and then he just disappeared. He just didn't come back to work one day.
Okay.
Stillinger and an officer later went to confront Moore in prison, but there's no information of what happens after that. So most likely, the mysterious man's not Henry Lee Moore.
Okay.
But I don't know if like Stillinger sees him and is like, oh, guess that's not him.
Maybe.
Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Although Moore was suspected in at least 5 different murders, he was eventually found guilty of the double murder of his mother and grandmother.
Because they don't fucking know what the fuck they're talking
No,
about.
they
They're like,
don't.
oh, these all look similar. They use an axe, so it's all
So
the
it's
fucking
all the
same
same.
It
person.
must be him.
They're so fucking dumb.
Henry
God.
was sentenced to life in prison. His sentence was later commuted, though, in July of 1956, and he was last known to be living in St. Louis, and he was 82 years old. That was in 1956. The motherfucker's dead now.
Oh, so
Yeah,
he did.
he did.
He did.
There's
dead as
no
hell.
further information on like how he died or anything.
Wasn't him. I'm
really-
still here for the Reverend.
I'm really pissed
Yeah.
about their record keeping.
Exactly.
They need to really figure
Step
out
up
Facebook.
their game.
So far, the Reverend.
Yeah.
That's what I think too. So far.
So far.
So there's Samuel R. Moyer is next. There's not a lot to say about him except for he is the brother-in-law of Josiah. He was married to Josiah's sister, and he regularly threatened to kill Josiah. And I think that that's hilarious.
Okay.
Nah, it wasn't him.
It wasn't him.
It wasn't
It
him.
wasn't him.
It's even said that he had not even visited Villisca for 15 years before this murder.
Oh, geez.
So
Nah, it's just some fucking
he just hated
family
his
shit.
brother-in-law from afar and was like,
Yeah.
I'll kill that motherfucker. I'll kill that motherfucker.
He was probably jealous
that he
of
had
him.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all this stuff. And Josiah hated Samuel because he abandoned his sister. So he marries his sister and then abandons her.
Oh yeah.
And then
go fuck
and
yourself.
he's mad. You know,
Go fuck yourself, Samuel.
guys like Samuel are a dime a dozen. We all know them.
Right. Yep.
You know, they're the victim. They hate their brother-in-law, whatever. He didn't do it
Fucking
though. He's a
narcissist.
pussy.
Yeah.
Huge pussy.
Sorry, Samuel R. Moyer.
Whatever
Not
you
sorry.
If that's even your real name.
If that's even your real name. Okay, so next we have, and finally, because there are more, but I just brought out the real important ones. This one is, his name is Paul Mueller. Sometimes he's listed as Paul Miller because his last name's actually German. So it's pronounced like Mueller.
Okay.
Okay.
Paul Mueller. But it's spelled Mueller.
What was I say? I know some Muellers.
So Paul Mueller is the latest bad guy to make an appearance on this very long list of suspects. And so this is so current that this is in 2017.
Wow.
Wowzers.
Yeah. A man named Bill James and his daughter released a book called The Man on the Train, researching Paul Mueller and his possible axe murdering crime spree that lasted over a decade, killing, in their account, 59 people at least, and in 14 different incidents.
Okay.
So that's what they're accrediting him with this. They're just being like, he did all this.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure, but they do have some compelling evidence. In the book, James identifies commonalities between the crimes, many of which are also found at the Villisca scene. Paul Mueller was very likely a German immigrant who was the subject of an unsuccessful year-long manhunt as the only suspect in the 1897 murder of a family in Massachusetts who had employed him as a farmhand. Seems to be popular.
Well, I mean, what else were you going to do
Back in the day.
in that time?
Right.
In the book, the Jameses investigated that the killer selected families who lived near railroad tracks. The next thing that was common is that they usually always were killed around midnight.
Okay.
So that was kind of weird.
In their sleep.
They used the blunt side of the axe rather than the blade to strike the victims in the head and face. This
Yeah,
is really
so-
gruesome, but
yeah.
it doesn't get stuck into the victim.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easy because otherwise you have to like wiggle it.
Right.
And
You have to,
whatever.
yeah,
You
just
can-
as you would have to do like when you're chopping wood.
Right. It's more like effective.
Yeah.
the other
So
way.
you just kind of, it's like baseball
Time.
baddie.
Yep.
It's less time consuming.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
somebody who would use the blunt side would know what they were doing.
Right.
They used an axe found at the victim's home. They didn't bring it with them, and they left it in plain sight after the murders.
Okay.
They covered the victims with the blankets, just the same as in Villisca, and covered the windows from inside the house and locked the doors before they left. And that happened in all these crimes that they wrote about in this book.
Okay.
Interesting.
So that's a lot of stuff to have in common. So
yeah.
that's what we would call a
serial-
signature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a serial killer.
But okay. Nope. Go on.
So in Mueller's suspected crimes, there was often but not always a sexual motive directed toward a pubescent girl.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
That's another
All right.
thing. There's little to no information to tell of how Paul Mueller died. He was never arrested or even convicted of any of the crimes that the James's book accuses him of. But he is becoming increasingly popular as the number one suspect in the Villisca Ax
So then,
murder
who
case.
even was he? Was he even a real fucking person then?
So it's 1912, and there's not a lot of
Right. That doesn't.
They don't even know if he was German for sure, but there is I don't even know. I don't want to butcher the name of it, but there is also an axe murder crime that occurred in Germany before these crimes in America started taking place, and it's called the Hinker
Okay.
Field.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That sounds right.
Something like that. I kind of know this.
I'm
maybe.
gonna have to look that up, and maybe we'll cover that on here. But it's also a gruesome, and the facts of that case are exactly common to these.
Okay.
So the idea is that he traveled.
But So here's my thing is that he's
Does
not
he
the
even
only,
exist?
right. He does he exist because he's never been convicted, whatever. But also there's several people on this list that you've given us that covered
Fit
the
it.
body or they've done whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a common
It
fucking
must be
theme.
a common thing. I know.
And I just don't feel like I feel like the Reverend is still my number one.
That's what I feel like too in my gut. I don't know. This case is so crazy.
Because if you didn't
It
know,
is.
this shit is still unsolved.
Oh yeah,
people.
it's still unsolved
Still
to this day.
unsolved.
So
And-
if you don't know about this,
yeah, I tried to research Paul Mueller because I had never heard his name. This is as of
Right.
2017, this is a new
yeah.
suspect, and I can't find a lot unless you want to read the book, which I didn't have time to do, unfortunately, and I probably will do. But and how they got all this information, how the Jameses did, they went through newspaper archives.
Okay.
And they went back and to each of these cases that they're claiming that he was
Right.
good for, and just researched the case, the commonalities between it, and they've determined that if he was in the area, and I don't know how they determined that. I have no idea.
Who knows? I mean, they probably had money to travel because that sounds like what they were doing.
That is, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly what they were doing. And then there's like forums and stuff, and if anybody Reddits, then there's a little bit on Reddit, but they're not the only ones that agree that it's this Paul Mueller. So
All right. Okay. I'm just not convinced.
I'm not either. No, I'm not either. So despite being one of America's most popular gruesome crimes of all time, this case still remains unsolved to this day, which we'd said. But there's no shortage of people researching and digging for the next clue that might crack the case wide open, even all these 112 years later.
Because it's just such a
It's iconic in a
Yeah.
way, you know. I mean, I know it's whatever, but it's like Lizzie Borden, fucking Amityville.
It really is.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
It's
same
so
shit,
just-
And listen, in
Nothing is-
Iowa, we don't have a lot.
right?
Yeah.
But-
Let us have this.
But if you want to kill
Right.
somebody with an axe, then
I guess we're your guys.
Right?
No. And this Villisca Ax Murder house is still a place that you can visit today. You can even stay the night. if
no
you'd
thanks,
Like.
no thanks. I'm not going to be
Ooh.
staying the night.
Sissy won't stay
At all.
with me. You'll
I
stay
wanna
with
try.
me.
I will, but I ain't sleeping.
Well, I'm not sleeping either.
Okay.
I've been there, and the vibe is creepy. It's uneasy. It's unsettling. It feels.
Well, yeah, there was 8 fucking people murdered in that fucking house.
Yeah.
Regardless of how long ago it was, that shit's still there. I don't give a fuck.
Well, when you can actually see the axe marks in the wall, that brings a whole new.
I remember when you went and when you came back, you were like, Tress, you gotta go.
You gotta go.
You gotta go.
It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's just you have to experience it. It's crazy. So it's a place.
Don't
you can
tell me
still
what
go.
to do with my life.
You're
I
gonna
wanna
go.
go.
We're going.
I want to go so bad.
So I rack my brain over this case, and no matter how much I think I figured it out, there's always more questions. So
She's in trouble.
here we go.
Okay.
Did the killer know the family or not?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so too.
Yes.
So
I think they
does
had
that
to.
count Reverend Kelly? Because technically he didn't know them well,
But he
knew
knew them
them.
from a distance.
of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Which is kind of
had an opportunity to study them or
Yes.
be obsessed with them for
Stalking
what, like a
them.
couple hours. And then he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, they're the ones.
Yeah.
And who knows? He could have been like,
And he could
watching
have
them for
known
a
them just
while.
because there was no like connection there doesn't mean that there wasn't an actual. I mean, that's 1912. They don't fucking know what you're doing,
No.
exactly.
you know. So
they
there
don't.
definitely could have been a deeper connection than what they originally thought.
Right. I don't know. I
And-
think they had to have known them.
He was a reverend, so if he was like walking around at night and stuff, people would be like, "Oh, hi, Reverend, whatever."
And I wonder, knowing everybody knew about him, they
Yeah.
knew. I don't know necessarily if people in Villisca knew because he is not from there,
Right.
but they may know he's a reverend. We can trust him. That's what
I
people
mean.
know.
That's
Yeah,
the problem.
But he's known by at least some to be a sexual deviant. They were clear in that in the research that I did. So I'm wondering who knew that.
Probably everywhere that he had traveled before. He was probably just like traveling to fucking
Well, they say he was weird. So you know how like when people are weird, you just can pick that up pretty
yeah,
quick.
for sure.
You're like,
Yeah.
there's something off about this guy. But since
We
he's a
talked about in the
reverend,
last
maybe
one.
you.
I definitely know when somebody's fucking
Yep.
off.
But I wonder if since he's a reverend, they're like,
Yeah, because
he's
it
just
automatically-
really friendly.
It's a real sense of like
It's a great cover.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
what it
also like
is.
a sense of like relief for people. Like that's not the word I'm looking for, but like when you meet somebody and hey, I'm a
It
reverend.
makes you comfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're automatically comfortable
You
with
let
that
your
person.
guard down. Yeah.
Especially
But you
during
shouldn't.
that time.
You shouldn't. I don't give a
do
fuck
it.
who you are. Don't let
Nope.
your guard down.
Don't do it.
So, do you guys think the killer was waiting in the house for them, like for them to get home and wait for them to go to bed, or do you think that he came in later?
I'm not sure.
I feel like I have a new theory,
Okay.
maybe, after hearing about Reverend. So I don't think that he was waiting in the attic. I think he came in later. But I feel like after he killed everyone and then, like, allegedly, and then was covering their faces with the cloths and maybe feeling, like, some sense of, like, sorry about it.
Sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
We're sorry.
I feel like possibly he could have gone into the attic room to, like,
Decompress a little
Decompress,
bit.
yeah, like
Smoke
having
some
like a
cigarettes.
freak out and smoking cigarettes.
Smoke some drugs.
And be
just
like-
cigarettes.
yeah.
Sorry. It's just
Like I feel like,
Cocaine.
right? Probably. But I feel like that could be a real possibility
yeah.
because they didn't know just
So-
because they found cigarettes in there, they don't know the time frame
When
that
they were smoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that I didn't really make clear is that outside the home, there's also what I would consider maybe like a small shed or barn. And it's not small, it's actually pretty sizable. And in some of the research I did, and I didn't put it in the story for reasons, but because it wasn't like a for sure thing, but there was accounts that in that barn or shed, there was 2 hay bales with impressions on them, like somebody had been sitting outside there waiting.
Hanging out.
How you can tell if there's impressions on a hay bale, I don't quite know, and I think that's why that's not really widely reported, but I found it in 2 different spots, so that's something to think about if that's even a thing. I don't know, but
I feel like in this time period that we're talking about, 1912, there is no like for sure thing. I think that he probably was there, maybe not for very long, but definitely around the same time. I don't think that, because what's the mom's name? Sarah.
yeah.
So in the hustle and bustle of putting the kids to bed and like fucking around and whatever, he could have slipped in at any of those moments and she would have never fucking known.
She would have been like, there's 100 fucking kids here. He's
Right.
just one of them.
right.
I
And-
think that they were there.
Yeah.
This is the reason. He's got a lamp with him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you seen the layout of this house, like I said, these stairs are the steepest fucking things. There's no way somebody goes into this house and gets all the way up the stairs,
And nobody
sets
hears
the lamp
them.
down, wields the axe, and goes to hit Josiah in this tiny space without anyone knowing that
Right.
he's there.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no way. If you saw it. If he's sorry, table. If he's coming out of the attic, all he has to do is just
Like
Come
walk
out.
come out. Yeah. And he doesn't have to. Those steps, you got the steps. You got to go up all the steps
it's gonna
and
be
not
creaking.
creak and wake
And I know
everyone up.
exactly what these steps look like.
So there's no way somebody's getting up all of these steps in the dark
Correct.
with an axe
right.
Yeah.
and not banging everywhere and trying to fuck, there's no way. I
Right.
think he's there. Anyway. What could the motive have been to also have killed the children in the way that they did do?
I mean, it was either sexual or financial, in my personal fucking opinion. And whatever, financial fits more because if you're, especially like that whole like John Deere shit or whatever, like that's enough to make a person, you lose
And
a
these
John.
are like senators.
Yeah, and you lose like
And
a John Deere shit. Like no, you're out like millions of
You're
fucking dollars.
major depression.
Yeah.
There's some grimy motherfuckers.
For real.
Yeah. I don't know. The kids, it's kind of like definitely
They just call it
That's-
like collateral damage or something.
Yeah.
Like
it's a very, I don't want to
Sick.
say passionate murder, but it's
But
like
that's what
very,
it is.
yeah, like very, there's a lot of emotion going into that to go and murder 6 kids.
6.
and that's
6
why I feel
kids.
like the higher the murder hire isn't the thing. Whoever did this is the guy that's mad.
Yes.
You know, like whoever the guy that did this.
Fuck you, I'm gonna kill your kids too.
Yeah.
Oh, guess what? There's some more kids down here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fuck them up.
Fuck them up. And
but I find it very hard to believe that there wasn't any sexual motive with the 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Because that's just not. I don't know. It's not. It doesn't add up with how she was found. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I'm even if there was no like whatever, that's why the Reverend fits for me because like there's no penetration, so he didn't whatever against God.
And in that book, The Man from the Train that the Bill James wrote, he addresses that sexual motive, and he says his theory on why the bacon is found.
I knew that
forgot about
was
the
like
bacon.
related to
next to the axe in the Stillinger room where the little girl was half naked, that he would use it to masturbate.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So that's absolutely disgusting, but a possibility.
Yeah.
But we don't have DNA, so
No, but
and nobody wants to save bacon for 112 years.
No,
but maybe we would.
Ew.
Yeah.
I'm already eating prosciutto.
So one thing's for sure, I will be sleeping with the lights on tonight and the doors
and
the windows
under my pillow.
triple locked. Because you never know what can happen in a nice, quiet town in the sleepy Midwest.
Dun, dun, dun.
You just don't know about us.
But bitch, don't
know.
try me because I sleep with 2 fucking baseball bats.
Oh my God, girl, days.
I sleep with 5 dogs. Fuck with me.
Yeah, and a pit bull.
Also true. So this concludes our Halloween season episodes, you guys. We had such a great time writing and recording these for you all, and we hope you did get the heebie-jeebies a couple times, or maybe a good laugh. I know I did.
I'm hoping you're not too mad at us that our weekly episodes
the weeklies
are
are
be done.
over.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So after tonight, we're going to be going back to new releases every other Thursday, but don't be sad, Poison Tea Party people, because
no.
we might have some new surprises in the works coming up in the coming months, so please check back often.
Yes.
We would also love it if you could chip in and help support our show over on Patreon. Some of the new surprises I'm talking about will only be available to members, so you might want to hop on over there and sign up so you don't miss any of the fun.
Oh, yeah.
Members help support the show by keeping the poison flowing and the stories going. And you can sign up at patreon.com/thepoisonteaparty.
Go sign up now.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and don't be afraid to say hi on there. We love interacting with you guys and chatting. Let us know what you want to hear about on the podcast. Like tonight, that was people wanted to hear this one, guys. So,
we've been being bombarded since we started this thing to be talking about
Villisca
this, and we
Ax
were like,
Murders.
"Bitch, hold up, because this is a Halloweeny
We're
thing."
gonna save it for Halloween.
We're saving it.
So if you want to just email us anything over at thepoisonteaparty@gmail.com. All the cool kids are doing it, and so should you.
Duh.
And now it's time for us to say farewell. We have a date with some very handsome vampires, and our coven is calling. Meet us back here in 2 weeks, and we'll do this shit again. Until then, you stay classy. You keep those creepy pinkies up. Oh, and happy Halloween, bitches.
Happy Halloween!
Yes, so long, farewell.
You've been poisoned.